Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, a new way to keep your teens safer as they grow, like making sure they've got the right gear for riding.
Knee pads.
Check.
And helmet?
Done. See you, Dad.
New Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for who can contact your teen and the content they can see.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Go?
What?
Let's do this.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1092, June 7th, 2023. 103 degrees on this day in 2011.
Toasty.
And 35 degrees on this day in 1998. Man, 111, that's some swimming. No, 103 in 2011.
They both would be pretty.
That's some swimming weather. So I hope you've gotten in contact with Aquaside. They'll keep your beach free of weeds and algae and all the crud for as long as you need a good-looking beachfront. They've been doing it for more than 60 years. Their products are made in White Bear Lake. They're easy to use. They work quickly. They're registered with the authorities. Don't let weeds overtake your lake or pond this summer. Call Aquaside. Tell them what you're looking at, what you think the problem is. They'll help you understand it. They'll identify the weed problem and make sure your place looks great all summer long. Call Aquaside at 1-800-328-9350 or go to aquaside.com.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
Not only do we have Canadian forest fires?
Oh my God, stop.
Affecting the air quality in the United States. I have news from the official GL geologist Stacy that Mother's Rumbling in Kilauea is erupting. Is that how you say it? Kilauea?
Is that Hawaii?
Yes.
Oh.
There's a volcano alert level warning.
Ooh.
It used to be a watch. Now it's a warning.
Is it Maui?
Kilauea is erupting at approximately 4:40 a.m. HST.
How do you spell?
What's that? Hawaiian Standard Time?
Must be.
On June 7th, today, the USGS Hawaiian Volcano Observatory detected glow in Kilauea Summit webcam images indicating that an eruption has commenced within Halamaumau crater.
It's on the Big Island. Not even close.
Halamaumau.
There you go. Got it.
Crater in Kilauea's Summit Caldera. Okay.
Melakalikimaka.
Makawukawaka. The open. Well, that's it's dynamic and it's erupting, and so now we have forest fire smoke. And now we'll have.
I think I found a webcam.
Yeah.
No. Really?
Just enter Kilauea webcam.
Southeast shore of Big Island.
Okay. Where's the?
I'm hearing tiny bubbles.
Where is the Olson Estate? I don't think that's on the Big Island, is it?
No, we're on Maui.
Oh, excuse me.
West side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Stacy. So we've got, you got Mother. You got your mother. Mama is.
She's getting warm down there in that area.
All over the place.
Yeah. Getting hot.
Kenny, is yours on YouTube? Is that the one you found?
I'm still.
Because I have a Kilauea volcano live stream on the YouTube, and this looks like it's current.
Joe, you might have made a mistake bringing this
up.
Yep,
you sure did.
You've lost Kenny for the day.
Okay.
Look at that Suchi boy. Isn't that cool?
Well, I've seen those before. You've seen
You
one.
can get a volcano.
You've seen one. You've seen them all.
You
I
are
think.
so
Just stuff. It's just stuff pouring out of it, right?
That's it.
Hot lava.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You play the game when you were a kid. Don't step on the hot lava.
That's right.
Now it's real.
Flew over Phoenix once. Yeah, I've been to Phoenix.
Lot of sand.
Nothing.
I've seen that place.
GLers, I
I've seen
will
it.
post this with the Daily Show page at garagelogic.com because this is pretty cool. And I'm with
How
Ken.
come
Yeah.
the news, if I've missed it, I apologize if I've missed it. The news will certainly not go out of its way, will urgently tell us every night that Canadian forests are facing unprecedented blazes.
Yes.
How come we never see any footage of it?
I don't know. I'm wondering the same thing.
Oh, I love that conspiracy.
I don't even think it's a conspiracy. Where's the film?
Yeah.
Why don't you Canucks put your damn fire out?
Let's go.
What do we say when somebody photos or it's not true? That's what we say.
Photoshop?
No, photos, pictures, video,
Or it never
it's
happened.
not,
Yep.
or it's not true.
You know, I hate to be uncharitable this early in the show, but Scott Johnson says he has a cylinder index ruling question.
Okay.
Those like me in a townhouse use an HOA, Homeowners Association. So for all snow removal and lawn care, we hire a service. Can the CI requirement be adjusted for that? Absolutely not.
See you.
I'm sorry, Scott. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but of course not.
Scott doesn't know how to cheat. The deal with that is you don't ask the question and you just assume it's allowed. Now that you've brought it up.
If you want to hang around with your buddy, Scott, and count those, that's fine with me. But when you make your wishes public,
Yeah.
I think the rules must be adhered to.
You don't ask the people who make the rules about the rules. Yeah.
You know
Just
why he's doing
assume.
that? Because he's probably got 12 cylinders. He got rid of his snowblower. He got rid of his weed whip, his leaf blower, his lawnmower.
And for many people, that's their cup of tea.
Is it weed whip or weed whack? Have we ever?
I called it a whip.
I think the
I like
device
whack.
itself is a whip, but the weed whack is the process of removing the weed.
I still have my Flymo.
Shannon Anderson has a great question. I think it applies to me, if not all of us, on this show.
Okay.
When I proved that my ancestors did not own slaves and didn't even come to America until the 1900s, can I be exempt from the tax penalty of reparations? Serious question. I think it's a great question.
Wait a minute.
That would apply to me.
This doesn't involve taxes, though, does it? This is the Bush Foundation.
No, but there is also a
Down the road.
national movement to do this.
Okay.
There's a Melvin Carter movement to do
San
it.
Francisco wants what?
San Francisco
5 million
movement
per?
to do this. Of course, tax money will be involved ultimately. But that is a great question. My ancestors did not own slaves and did not arrive in the country until the sod hut time, which would have been in the 1880s.
Yep.
They didn't live in the South and they didn't own slaves. I ain't paying.
We didn't have slaves here in Minnesota, correct?
Is that on both sides, Such? They came in because on my mom's side, they were indentured servants. They came over early on, 1700s.
On my mom's side, they would have all been Irish. There's nobody left to ask. I don't know what the hell they did.
My dad's side, they came in like your people in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, I think that she has a great question, and I think the people of this country need to use that as a defense against some sort of tax forfeiture. I had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry.
Wasn't me.
I'm sorry, but I have nothing to do with it. And if it's any consolation to you, I wouldn't own a slave.
Right. They're done.
I just have some things GLers are having to get off their mind.
We might have a small ray of hope as it relates to the spewing volcano.
Yes.
I'm looking at a study done by Oregon State University. They apparently study a lot of volcano and volcano activity. In this particular study, most of the particles spewed from volcanoes can actually cool the planet with
really?
shading.
Oh.
That's according to this particular study.
That's some interesting news on spewing.
Is that a ray of
Blocking out
hope?
the sun.
Yeah. And finally, Mark Hookham wants to know. First, he says, "Hail the Flashlight King."
Hail you.
I work for a company in Minnesota. If I needed a special tool for a job at that company and I had it in my garage, I'd bring it in the next day and use it. I also work for a city. If they don't have that special tool, they will send someone out on the clock to purchase that tool for a one-time job. Mark, I just find that a very good synopsis of government. And he does what he has to do for the private company. He brings a tool from home, uses it, and takes it home.
Okay.
The government will go out and buy a $752 toilet seat. So there's your government. All right. Kenny doesn't want me to discuss.
I do. I do want you to.
A military whistleblower has gone public with claims that the United States has secret UFO retrieval program. That they've gotten craft and dead pilots of those craft. This is from David Charles Grush, a 36-year-old decorated former combat officer in Afghanistan, served the National Reconnaissance Office, acting as their representative to Congress's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force from 2019 to 2021 at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. He also served from late 2021 to July 2022 as co-lead of Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Analysis and is representative to the task force, which was recently renamed the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office.
Wow.
So government is very large.
Yeah.
The debrief first reported Monday that Grush said he filed a whistleblower complaint to Congress with the Intelligence Community Inspector General on classified information that he insists proves the recoveries of partial fragments through and up to intact vehicles that have been made for decades through the present by the U.S. government, its allies, and defense contractors. Wait a minute. He insists he can prove the recoveries of partial fragments through and up to intact vehicles have been made present by the U.S. government? And I don't want to talk about this.
Well,
No, it's too late. You opened
I don't
it up.
get it.
We're
What does
talking
that
about it.
mean? It means we're making our own UFOs?
He says we're reverse engineering what we have discovered, that we actually have, us and other countries have evidence, proof, physical crafts that prove that aliens and extraterrestrial life exists.
Okay.
But here's the deal.
Yeah.
It's all hearsay, Joe.
No evidence?
Give me some proof. This is the kitty litter box in the restroom story on a global scale. This is disinformation. I'm going to play me and I'm going to play you.
All right.
I say this is a distraction. You say, but from what? I say this is a psyop. You say, aimed at whom? I say this, is it whom or who? Whom?
Whatever.
I say this is disinformation. And you say, meant to protect what? And here we talk together in unison. What is the grift here? Who stands to gain from all these so-called government and ex-government experts making all these grand pronouncements? And remember, now all of this is coming from the government. What did Reavers gave us a pretty good Reagan quote yesterday? What was that quote?
we're here from the government and we're here to help. Or I'm from the government and we're here to help.
Never, ever, for any reason, should you trust what anybody from the government says to you. If I'm standing in my backyard looking at an apple tree that I planted 10 years ago, and one of these hoopleheads wanders into my yard and says, "Hey, nice apple tree, Kenny," I have my doubts that that's actually an apple tree. That's how much I distrust the government. Who have we been hearing from the most here in the last 6 months? We've been hearing from this guy, David Grush. Another guy in the story, if you read the whole story, Jonathan Gray. Grush, a former intelligence official. Gray, a current U.S. intelligence official. Lou Elizondo, he's got a TV show. He's counterintelligence, a special agent, former employee of the Undersecretary of the Defense for the Intelligence. Okay. Now he's a big TV star. If you've gone into this deeply, you know there's a guy named Bob Lazar out there. Who said he was actually he's a self-proclaimed physicist who said he was hired in the late 80s to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology. But when the real physicists start talking about the nonsense that Bob says, they blow all of his nonsense out of the water.
All right, take a breath. What you've got me realizing is a further indication and corroboration that life on the third rail is insulated from any and all reality, by which I mean, listen to this, and I'm a David Grush. Okay, he worked at the National Reconnaissance Office. Mm-hmm. He was a representative to the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. Mm-hmm. At the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, he identified aerial phenomena and was a representative to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office. This is why nothing will come of Trump investigations.
I love that link. God, the whole time I'm wondering, where's he going?
This is why the third rail is protected from the consequences of their actions. There aren't any.
I'm trying to figure out what the hell is really going on here. If, in fact, there actually is physical evidence, Such, stuff we can lay our greasy fingers on, and multiple countries have it and know about this, why hasn't the globe banded together to protect our global interests?
And plus, why are you afraid to show me and tell me?
Right.
I can take it.
Well, that's a huge question.
Look at the politicians I have to deal with. You think this frightens me?
You say you can take it. I say that if this gets out, nobody's paying their mortgage anymore. It's pandemonium. It's global pandemonium. I think if, in fact, this is true, that's why they're covering it up. But I think they're covering something else up.
There's no consequences in the public class.
Yeah,
I'm not
true,
indicting public people. There are good people who work for the government. There are GLers. But there are no consequences for their behavior.
Right.
Look at the walls put in place of the Department of Education, for example, and under their eyes, just week after week, month after month after month of a food fraud scandal took place. None of them will lose their job. None of them will be demoted. None of them have ever had to account to the public. We lost a poor child in the St. Paul public school system, 7 years old. She died because she got into her mother's drugs. There had been indications in the school that she was suffering trauma at home, cigarette burns on her chest and not bathed frequently, and on and on and on. And what we learn in today's Pioneer Press and Star Tribune is the school administrators didn't report it.
Right.
They're supposed to. They should be fired. They won't be.
They should be held accountable, yes.
I don't mean to even go off on this careening turn away from the UFOs, but the government play what you were just playing before the show from Keith Ellison.
Wait, before you do that, one thing.
Yeah.
Why haven't legitimate physicists, the real physicists of the world, the ones we know about, why haven't they been invited to investigate or look at these crafts? Where's the experts?
Where's Fermi?
Well, I mean, even Eric Weinstein, how come he's not involved? He's one of the top physicist mathematicians in the world.
Is it because he's not part of the club, Kenny?
And his people, well, that goes right down the alley Joe's taking us down. He's not part of the club. Anyway.
We learned prior to the show from a tweet
From Keith Ellison's account.
From Keith Ellison's account that says the following.
Dateline, 19 hours ago, June 6, 4:02 p.m. Hefty and Walmart sell recycling bags that are not recyclable.
No.
Come on.
Worse, nothing you put in them can be recycled. They put profits ahead of our environment and the law. I cannot and will not tolerate this kind of deceptive marketing, so I'm suing them to stop. There's a press release accompanying this tweet.
We're being rescued.
Yes.
What a show.
Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison announced today,
What a man.
yesterday, that he has filed a lawsuit against Reynolds Consumer Products, Inc., the parent company of the Hefty Bag trademark, and Walmart for defrauding and deceiving Minnesota
Thank
consumers
God.
through their marketing of so-called recycling bags.
Didn't Reynolds own the cigarettes?
I don't know. Tell me this. He said that they're selling bags that and that what you put in them cannot be recycled.
The bags themselves.
No, but he also says, and what you put in the bags can't be recycled. Is that what he said?
Yes.
And I don't understand.
Well, that makes no sense. What if I use the bag to bring home 3 newspapers?
Wait, that's the part you're hung up on?
Yeah.
Not the fact that the Attorney General is wasting time and energy into
Well, I'm
this?
trying to catch the Attorney General in a mistake here. He says, read the beginning of it again.
He says Hefty and Walmart sell recycling bags that are not recyclable. Worse, nothing you put in them can be recycled.
What? That's not true. What do you mean nothing you put in them cannot be recycled?
He's referring to trash, I would assume.
Well, much of trash can be recycled.
But
are you going to throw in a tomato soup can?
Probably
A
not.
newspaper?
I would put it in my recycling bin.
So would I. I'm a crunchy conservative.
Oh, my God. The problem is, too, when you read the reaction to something like this, you do get a glimpse into why we're in so much trouble. Because a lot of people are like us, pointing out, this is what you're spending time on. Then there's others. Thank goodness someone's standing up to fight big corporations. Here you go, Joe. He's fighting the fight for us.
Wow.
According to this, they can't be recycled in any of the 50 states.
The bags themselves?
The bags themselves, they clog up machinery and on and on and on.
I'm just glad Keith's fighting for
Can
us.
cause machinery to start on fire. Eureka is on board with this. They estimate that these bags and others like them that reach its recycling streams cost around $75,000 a year in lost productivity and lower revenue.
Well, see, I'm so far ahead of the curve. I didn't need this ding-dong Ellison to do this because I don't put plastic bags in my recycling.
Right.
Because I know they gum up the machines.
Right. There's only a couple of places you haul yours off to some store somewhere.
You can
don't you?
take your bags to Lund's, the little sleeve that the newspaper comes in, for example.
You do it via scooter.
I used to, and now I'm protesting.
Oh.
I'm protesting.
Gotcha.
Because I have a feeling that doesn't go anywhere. I just think that's a feel-good deal. You drive over there in your Tesla to recycle your plastic bags. I'm not sure I'm buying it.
Well, wasn't that a news story a couple of weeks ago? That the recycling that's supposed to doesn't always make it there.
See, if I throw away a plastic water bottle and you're telling me you make lawn furniture out of it, I'm all for you.
Yep.
You know, to me that makes sense. And I recycle newspapers, which probably harkens back all the way back
Paper drive.
to paper drives.
Remember that? They dropped the trailer on
There
the
would be a
school playground?
semi-trailer in the playground,
Yes.
and you'd load that sucker up with damp newspapers.
Yes, that you had been saving,
Right.
you know,
Oh, my
right
God.
next to the incinerator
Right.
in your basement.
I'm having flashbacks.
Oh, my God.
Boy Scouts
Yeah.
flashbacks.
Twine, that you tie them with the
Oh
twine.
yeah, they had to have twine. Yeah.
But where did that go then? Did that go to Rock 10 or whatever it is?
Yeah.
Those are the people that would put it on, probably?
You can get them.
What was it back then?
You can get them. Horner Waldorf.
Horner Waldorf.
Where
okay.
I worked. I started in the paper business at the absolute ground floor.
You were a flinger.
I flew cardboard.
Yep.
Hot and ready?
Big hot sheets of cardboard would come off the
Hot sheets of
thing,
cardboard.
and you'd pick it up, and you'd have to fly it. You'd let air get under it and float it
Virgil,
to the
here
pallet.
comes another one.
Get it while it's hot.
Virgil, here comes another one.
I have a new garage door guy.
Okay.
Now, they're called Precision Garage Door of the Twin Cities, but I call them my garage door guy because they're GLers. Yeah. They know more about the show than I do. Yeah, I'm using them, right?
And
they serve the metro in western Wisconsin. You get them 24/7. They don't charge more on weekends. And they'll prevent accidents. Get your garage door checked. You don't want to get conked on the head by one of these things.
That
Garage
spring
doors
is tight.
Garage doors are heavy. And if you're dolling up the place, you're getting ready to sell, garage doors can create some curb appeal. And they'll provide garage doors. They do it all, from the opener to the door itself. And they do it correctly the first time. They don't want to linger and come back 15 times. They want to fix you correctly the first time. And thus earn your business serving the metro and western Wisconsin. Let them know that you appreciate that they're GLers, that they're a GL-owned business. Precision Garage Door. They fix garage doors correctly. Get help online immediately at precisiondoormn.com.
Since 2006, you've heard me tell you about the Minnesota Masonic Charities and their wonderful, wonderful history of giving.
Since 2006?
It's more than 2006. That's when they all came together and said,
Wow.
we're all going to become one. But these guys have been doing this since, I don't know, the 14th century.
In fact, didn't the Dalai Lama say, give me one with everything?
Make me one.
Make me
one with everything. He was ordering a pizza, though, I think, at that time.
Gotcha.
I will say that the Minnesota Masonic Charities does wonderful work, whether it's taking care of the elderly, taking care of students via their wonderful scholarship program. I invite you to go to their website and check out the Minnesota Masonic Charities Scholarships Portfolio. It gives you all the criteria requirements for 2023 and look ahead for 2024. Signature, legacy, heritage, selfless scholar, career and technical, and undergraduate. They are very generous with giving out scholarships. And I would like you to go to their website so you can learn more. If you have questions, 952-948-6200, or better yet, poke around their website. That's very easy to navigate, and you'll find out all the information you want because they want to get the word out for Minnesota Masonic Charities, mnmasoniccharities.org. Let them know that you heard it on Garage Logic. They want to get the word out, so get moving, get educated with Minnesota Masonic Charities. Are we on?
Tell them the Rook singer.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
And no matter how hard you hammer on him, you can't hurt his feelings.
Yeah, I
It
know.
really drives me crazy. If you're on the council, you'll know what we're talking about. But the man, you know what it does? It bounces off of him and sticks to you.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's what he is. But I'm here to talk about DK Mags, a wide selection of all sorts of firearms, revolvers, pistols, shotguns, rifles, along with the usual ammo, mags, parts, accessories. Don't forget gunsmithing. It's a full-service shop serving the entire Twin Cities and beyond. A website, wow, fantastic, dkmags.com. Special orders, bring them on. DK Mags will be happy to help find that exact firearm or accessory you've been searching for. And you know what else they're going to do for you? They're going to buy that firearm you don't want. Maybe you got something from Grandpa's estate, single item, large items, big, lots of stuff. I don't know what I'm saying. I do know that you should contact DK Mags if you want to sell something firearms related. They also do consignment, a wonderful staff, a great selection, and fair prices. DK Mags, Old 8 in New Brighton, and on the web, dkmags.com.
Got a test for you.
Oh, school's out for summer.
Yeah.
I want to discuss something that has 3 points. There was a piece yesterday in the Star Tribune talking about sinkholes. Mm-hmm. We have sinkholes in the area.
Yep, I read that.
And the online story has as its headline, large sinkholes could be more the norm, the new normal, which is a favorite term of the regressives. And I'm going to read the first 4 paragraphs as part 1 of this assignment.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask you a question. Ready?
Yep.
And this is written by a guy named Lewis Krauss. I don't know Lewis, and I don't mean him any untowardness, but I'll bet you he's young. And the fact that I bet he's young comes in part 2 of the assignment.
What's his name?
Lewis Krauss. Probably a new reporter there. I don't know. But I'll bet he's young. Anyway, here's the first 4 paragraphs.
Lewis Krauss.
As Jeff Berg bicycled past a small hole, 6 inches wide but much deeper below the surface, at a South Minneapolis intersection near his house Monday, he worried that more of the street could collapse when a car passes near it. You think, how big could this get, Berg said, near the sinkhole at 43rd Street West and Pleasant Avenue South. Is it going to open up and all of a sudden take up the whole intersection when someone drives by? Minneapolis has had a handful of major sinkholes so far in 2023, following the 3rd snowiest winter on record. Most notable is a large crater at the intersection of 27th Street and Girard Avenue South that has shut down the road since its collapse April 9. Another small sinkhole opened at the intersection of 40th Street and Nicollet Avenue, which has since been filled with soil and surrounded with caution tape. 4th paragraph. The 43rd Street sinkhole was caused by an abandoned storm drain system that collapsed, according to Angie Kraft, the surface water and sewer director for Minneapolis Public Works. Below the small opening at the surface, the hole appeared to widen and spread out at least a few feet below the pavement. Of those first 4 paragraphs, what most stood out to me? Yes, you in the back.
The collapsed storm drain.
No.
Because, oh, wow.
The moron speculating.
No.
The 6-inch wide
I
hole.
think anything that.
40th and Nicollet, 43rd Street.
Do we get a clue?
The caution tape?
Angie Kraft, the surface water and sewers director.
No, I'll fill it and we'll conclude step 1 of the exercise. I'll tell you the answer. Why in God's name has a sinkhole that developed on April 9th not been remedied yet?
I actually wondered that as I read it.
Point.
Legit.
That's 2 months.
Yeah, that's enough time.
Let's go here.
Well, we had to go through the diversity and equity director. Then we had to go through then we had to schedule a meeting.
Stick a cone in it.
Right.
Doesn't Girard gets really weird around Lake Street, doesn't it? Where's it go?
I don't know, but let's move on.
Well, now you've got me curious. I can't move on. Go ahead.
The Girard Avenue sinkhole opened up when a 120-year-old sewer pipe collapsed. The heavy snow melt this spring may also have led to the large sinkholes. At this point in this story, I was holding my breath.
Okay.
Why was I holding my breath? I'm wondering, yes, you in the back?
Where does climate change
I was
enter?
wondering, can I get through this story
Yep.
without climate change? All right.
Not a bleeping chance with this newspaper.
No.
Calvin Alexander, professor emeritus from the University of Minnesota's Earth and Environmental Sciences Department, explained that water can enter the soil through road cracks or manhole covers. You know what? I'm not an Earth and Environmental Science emeritus professor, but I could have told you that.
And you knew that.
I know a 7th grader could have told you that. Explained that water can enter the soil through road cracks or manhole covers. The water can carry away the ground below the asphalt, creating a void. We certainly saw a bump in the number of potholes this spring, and as some of them might have formed coincidentally near broken sewer mains or storm sewers, Alexander said. He's the prof. The effects of climate change.
Uh-huh.
Congratulations.
With potentially more winters with large amounts of snow and frequent freeze-thaw cycles could also lead to more sinkholes, Alexander said.
Stop right there. We set any records last winter? Anything unprecedented happened last winter?
No, but they're hanging their hat on the fact that it was the third snowiest winter on record.
It's the third.
Third isn't a winner, is it?
If you're not what's it in Ricky Bobby? If you're not a winner,
If
you're
you
a loser.
ain't first, you're last.
You're last. Yep,
Second place
right
is
there.
the first loser.
Yep.
So we got into about the 6th or 7th paragraph, and there it was, the effects of climate change. Am I to believe, for example, that in 1928 there were no sinkholes?
Nope. Mm-mm. None. Zero.
And how, when you just think about it calmly and rationally,
We can't do that.
That's impossible.
what does the climate have to do with a sinkhole?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And plus, you're conflating potholes with sinkholes. There's a big difference. The freeze-thaw cycle creates potholes, but you're throwing sinkholes in here to reinforce the probability of climate change.
Because pothole doesn't sound scary enough, but sinkhole, now that's terrifying.
Now, sinkhole is hellish.
Right, that's going to swallow you
Yes.
and
That's
your
like
family.
a black hole in space. Because you could end up in China.
That's right.
You don't know where you're going.
You gone.
Aliens.
You're
you
gone.
might see aliens. when
You're
you get
gone. So there's really not much
They
more.
also, the reason I
But
brought
I didn't
this...
get to part 3 of the assignment.
I'm sorry.
Part 1 is why in God's name is it taking you
2 months.
You haven't even fixed a sinkhole that occurred April 9th. 2, climate change was inevitable to appear in this piece. And I'm going to have a little fun here with the reporter in a moment, but I mean him no harm. I don't know who that is. And now I'm getting ready for the third part of the observation I have on this essentially benign story.
Give me page 3, Paul Harvey.
If you so readily and so even casually throw in climate change when you're discussing something that you haven't demonstrated to me is the result of climate change, and you even either have on your own Rolodex or you inquired elsewhere, who can I call to get a climate change confirmation? You find this old retired guy at the U who said, oh, yeah, that could be climate change. If you so readily believe that and are so willing to make that a part of the narrative of your news coverage, what else are you believing? That's part 3 of the assignment.
Okay.
What else are you so blindly and with what passes for faith in your life, what are you accepting as a truth about reality?
Everything.
I find that eerie. I find that frightening because now you have to take a step back and look at news coverage and realize that it's brought to you. I'm not saying this is a bad guy. He might be a hell of a kid. I don't know this guy. But what you have to realize is that the news is brought to you by a group of people who have an undying faith in things that are not proven. And so what else are we experiencing every day in news gathering that's fraught with this agenda?
Virtually everything.
Virtually everything.
Yeah. Yep. It's alarming, isn't it?
Meanwhile, the issue of in just this particular case, this individual case, they merely gloss over the actual problem with, and I wrote it down, the collapsed storm drain is what caused this.
120-year-old pipe.
And we
Let's
say,
update the pipes.
We're not going to fix that.
Infrastructure.
We got to let climate do its thing on this sinkhole.
you learn offhandedly and only coincidentally that you've got a sinkhole at 27th and Girard that is shut down the road since April 9.
And it's going to be closed for a few more months from what I'm reading.
Get a dump truck with some gravel in it.
Let's go here.
Before the Met Council and city workers finished repairs.
You know what would have taken care of this entire problem, gentlemen, don't you? If we would have just turned this into a bike lane, we wouldn't even need this road for cars.
And then you've got the introduction of climate change for no reason other than it is part of a template. It is part of the lens through which young people are viewing the world.
Some young people.
No, pretty much all of them if they go to the failed academy.
Okay, yes, you're.
Yeah. I have an interesting experiment underway in my own life.
Oh, the Great Beer Experiment?
I got a kid who'll be a junior in college. I got a kid who's going to be a freshman in college in a couple of weeks, a couple of months. And I got a kid who's returning and will be a sophomore in college. And so far, I have detected that they have not been poisoned.
Okay.
Now, have they not been poisoned because their academy is not failed? Because I happen to know in many respects, both the academies they attend are essentially have been failed academies, can be failed academies. Or are they not poisoned because they're immune to it by virtue of their upbringing?
Because they've been attending the University of Garage Logic their entire lives?
Yeah,
Well, no, these kids haven't been regular listeners.
Okay.
No,
They're
but
young. Why would they listen to it?
It's the
Papa
influence
Joe's
of their
on.
parents and what their parents have taught them growing up.
Because I'm through grade 5 and 2, and I've been hyper vigilant about observing that very thing.
You're going to find yourself doing what I did with my son. Just keep your head down. Just get through it.
I haven't said anything. I am observant.
I mean Reavers to his kids.
Yeah.
But my advice was just keep your head down. Don't make a big stink. Get through it. Tell them what they want to hear. Get out of there.
I did say to one kid, if you come back here with different pronouns, we got a problem.
How was that received?
It was not received well. I was chastised.
By?
Well, I was only screwing around. I was
But you
goofing
kinda
around.
meant it.
Oh, I meant it, but I
get emails from a guy at MnDOT who write in his title.
Yeah.
When I look on my email page and I see who it comes from. It comes from so-and-so, parentheses, he, him.
bleep you.
He, him. Yeah.
Well, doesn't
him.
that mean he's a guy?
Kenny.
He, him, his.
On our
DOT.
signatures, we all have a page for our signature on our email. You know what we should all put in the parentheses? Dum-dum.
No. A GLer did it for us. Joe is asshat.
Oh, yeah.
You are jackass.
That's right.
Matt is dumbass.
Yep.
John is wise ass.
Yep.
And I am smart ass.
That's right.
Those
Forgot
are,
about that.
What am I
those-
again?
You are asshat.
I'm asshat.
Yep.
You're the
asshat.
king.
A lot of ass.
In that hat.
You know, the more you think about life, the funnier it is, maybe even at death. I mean, have a cocktail.
Yeah.
If you have Mueller do it,
Yes.
you're going to might as well have a cocktail. If you have to have a
Celebrate the
heater, go
life.
outside,
Yeah,
come
you gotta
back
do
in.
that.
He'll set up a bar. Look, life is crazy.
Crazy. It's nuts. We got to do something about
At
this.
Mueller
It's
Memorial.
wacky.
At Mueller Memorial, they'll celebrate the goodness of your life. They realize the folly of what we all go through.
Yep.
Life is nuts. Death can sometimes be a grateful respite,
Yes.
a peace, and you might as well, slap your hand
Let's
on
go.
the coffin and say,
Yes.
"Damn it, Fred had a good run."
Get it
Life
right.
is
It is dangerous.
Yes, dangerous.
So there's, I know it's supposed to be a frightening time and it's rife with anxiety. And they've been doing it for 3 generations. They've watched the way lives and deaths have changed. And in our culture, and they've adapted with it, and they put you at ease. There's your key. Mm-hmm. You want to go to a funeral? Do you want to be at ease?
At ease, soldier.
Cremation or funeral? At ease. Mm-hmm. Stand down. Come on with me to the bar. I got a bar. We had one for my mother. It was old-fashioned. I think there's people still there, and that was 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. You get a hold of Mueller Memorial. I know Scott Mueller very well. I've known the entire family all my life. Mueller has been in the business for more than 75 years, and they will treat you in a way that's going to put you at ease. You can't really say you're going to have fun.
No, but you can celebrate a life.
But you can celebrate.
Yeah.
It can be festive.
It can be. It can be, and maybe oftentimes it should be. Have Mueller explain. Mueller? No.
Maybe he'll show up, too.
Mueller knows him, too.
Although when Mueller shakes Mueller's hand, he does check his pulse.
That's true.
So Mueller, you get a hold of Mueller and let them explain it to you. They're fantastic people. MuellerMemorial.com.
All right, guys, we're into June. Are you feeling like it's harder to get in shape and stay in shape? Well, guess what? Our sponsor, Nugenix Total T, is offering a complimentary bottle when you text 231-231 and enter the keyword garage. Hey, I get it. It's not your fault. As we all age, our body naturally loses free testosterone, the man hormone. It happens to all of us, and it can make it more difficult to stay in shape and be energetic. So if you want more energy to counter the negative physical effects of aging, well, Nugenix Total T Testosterone Booster with Testofen is going to help you turn back the clock, re-energize your workouts, and get you better results at the gym and help you look and feel like the man that you really want to be. Nugenix Total T is the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. And while every product professes quality, many other products are going to just use generic ingredients that are often far less than clinical grade. With Nugenix Total T, you get the same clinical potency levels used in the trials. And Nugenix's formulation is backed by 10 years of science and research. So get your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T when you text 231-231 and enter the keyword garage. Hey, text right now and get a bottle of Nugenix Thermal, their most powerful fat incinerator ever, with key ingredients to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text 231-231 and enter the keyword garage. That's 231-231 and enter the keyword garage. Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Truth, justice, and the suture.
He aspired to be the next Mean Gene Okerlund. Remember, he did a wrestling show.
Yes, and then he also had that show, In This Corner.
Yeah,
and
a boxing show.
What is the show you do on this corner? No, in this corner.
If you're not part of the council, we're talking about an old employee, Peter Thiel. A legend at this point.
Are you going to do an ad?
Tri-State Bobcat, that's what I'm talking about. Suchi Boy, Little Canada, Burnsville,
Little
Hudson.
Canada, rapper.
Soon to be St. Croix Falls. Zero turns. We're selling a couple of them at a great price. Great benefits here. The 54-inch. I'll just wait till you're done.
Come on, Shaggy.
God, it's like a dog shaking a muddy water.
Hi, this is Peter for Tri-State Bobcat with my new voice.
The 54-inch, my smoker voice. The 54-inch time cutter, my ride suspension, $48.99. By the time we're done with the rebates, you're paying $42.99. The other one is the 50-inch rebates, gets that price down to $37.99. But you got a whole lot of warranty thrown on top of that. Tri-State gives you a special 5-year warranty on top of the Total Care warranty. That's almost a $500 value. And Tri-State has the metro covered, so wherever you're at, you can get over to a Tri-State toot suite. We're talking Burnsville, Little Canada, Hudson, Owatonna. That's Mankey's power equipment down in Owatonna. And soon to be in St. Croix Falls, Tri-State Bobcat opening on Highway 8, and, of course, on the web. You got to get to the website. It's so awesome. I spend a couple of hours a day there. Well, yeah, that's the truth. Just believe it. TriStateBobcat.com.
I'm holding in my hands
What you got?
the current issue of the National Review, June 12th. What's your problem?
Is that the one you sneezed on?
Yeah.
Hey,
Is that what you were wiping off earlier?
Yeah.
He cleaned it up good.
Gross.
But it's my copy, so
Right.
I didn't hurt
I don't need
you.
it back anymore.
You don't have to.
Okay.
June 12, 2023. The cover is...
Why did you grab the magazine?
I don't know.
The
I
closest
don't
thing he
know.
could. When there's a box of tissues, and on an extended arm, you can grab 5 tissues. He chose to.
I look
National
up and
Review
he's
as a landing.
mopping up some kind of goo off the cover of this magazine.
I thought he was going to do my snot trick. You know when you have the
May I... could we...
What are you reading from your germ-filled National Review cesspool?
What do you got in your dirty little fingers there, Pa Jode?
I need a handkerchief.
The cover story is The War on Things That Work.
Oh.
The war on things that work.
By a guy named Noah Rothman, who I've tried to contact. I would like to talk to him. He's a senior writer for the National Review. He's in his early 40s. He's a good thinker.
Okay. So this is meaning trying to get rid of stuff that's working.
We've alluded to it on this show. Why are we replacing things that work with things that don't? And this fellow, who writes very well, has a piece called The War on Things That Work, like your stove, your dishwasher, your lawnmower. Too bad. The elites don't want you to have these things. Mm-hmm. And I'm contacting him. I'd love to have him on as a guest, because what I would like to know is that maybe the two of us could hash out, why don't they want us to have these things? Now, they're clinging to this thinly disguised save the earth nonsense, right? That these things. But gas stove, he really writes some interesting things about the gas stove. Armed with unchecked confidence and possessed of an abiding faith in the idea that you must be coerced into altruism, the activists seem to be coming for almost everything you own.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
In the process, they are waging a crusade against convenience. Now, that's getting us a little closer to things. Mm-hmm. They are waging a crusade against convenience, an assault on comparative advantage. Yep, that helps us get a little closer to it. And a war on things that work. Securing the fossil fuel-free future that President Biden imagines for us sometime in the 2030s will not be a pain-free proposition. At least that appears to be the conceit of the more radical wing of the environmentalist left. The scale of the challenges they see it demands sacrifice from us all. One of their most controversial moves is to give up natural gas-powered appliances, your gas kitchen range foremost among them. Now, do you have gas at home?
No, we're electric.
The relentless lobbying of local governments to forbid natural gas hookups in new buildings had already succeeded in a number of municipalities when the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission sought public comment earlier this year on a proposal to impose a ban nationwide. In a moment, Rookie, this story is going to really interest you because we're going to devolve into cooking.
Okay.
By then, California had already announced its own plan to begin in the next decade on the sale of new natural gas-powered appliances, and New York State was set to follow suit. The logic of this proscription was twofold. First, it was justified by dubious research, one example of which suggested that cooking with gas in an airtight room sealed by clear plastic sheets can cause adverse health effects over the long term.
No.
I don't know anyone who cooks that way.
Right. It's open.
It is indeed best to avoid preparing meals in a level 4 biocontainment facility.
Yeah. Good
Other
advice.
studies purporting to prove that gas-powered stove pollution increases the risk of childhood asthma screened out contradictory findings, or, as the American Gas Association later observed, conducted no measurements or tests based on real-life appliance use.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, Rocky Mountain Institute manager Brady Seals admitted to the Washington Examiner that his organizations, highly publicized summary of past studies which concluded the gas stoves were responsible for a 12.7% increase in asthma among kids, quote, does not assume or estimate a causal relationship. The second, more honest rationale concerned a general desire to rid the world of the roughly 13% of U.S. produced heat-trapping emissions that resulted in commercial structures contribute. Of course, your own preference plays no role in the bureaucrats' deliberations. Products that can't be made safe can be banned, Consumer Product Safety Commissioner Richard Trumka warned. And this goes on to talk about everything. Your furnace, your lawnmower. Right. Remember we had the gal here from Edina, the rep, who wanted to ban the lawnmowers, her trial balloon. And what I'm most interested in is that what Noah calls the new cultural war. But why?
I don't get why.
If your goal in the kitchen is to get something very hot as fast as possible, both gas and electric will do the job. But what if you want to regulate the temperature of your range? What if you set out to saute, flambe, braise, or char? What if your cultural affinities involve the use of round-bottom cooking pots, such as woks? Or if tradition requires an open flame? What if you just appreciate those styles of cuisine and do not reside in an urban enclave where they are Uber Eats order anyway? Even the executors of gas stove bans recognize the validity of at least some of these arguments, or else the city of Palo Alto, California, would not have provided Jose Andres restaurant with an exemption.
Oh.
Where else will Silicon Valley get its Paella Valencia?
Yeah, you lost me there.
Well, apparently that's some fancy meal that the rich people want, so they made sure Jose Andres restaurant got an exemption.
Got it.
Boy, polloy.
That's the way the elites live.
Not in my backyard.
Or what if, value? In most American states, natural gas appliances cost between 10 and 30% less to operate on a regular basis than electric. What if you can't afford to switch to the induction ranges, which can cost 60% more than gas stovetops, proposed by many anti-gas activists? The offhand rejection of these arguments sets the stage for a real pushback from the public, a cacophonous outcry during the commission's open inquiry period drowned out the activists and scuttled its initiative, at least on the national scale. Wait till you see what I have coming up.
Okay.
But the effort to regulate natural gas-powered appliances to history's ash heap persists in places such as New York, where Governor Kathy Hochul's spokeswoman bragged that the ban on new natural gas hookups will not have any loopholes. And she added there won't be any option for municipalities to opt out. Why does she get to tell us what kind of stove we have to use?
I don't like that.
A policy that bans natural gas hookups in new residential construction suggests that more appliances than just gas stoves have found themselves in the bureaucrats' crosshairs. Gas furnaces and gas water heaters would become things of the past if the meddlers had their way. Indeed, that is the plan in some of America's bluest states. There are pros and cons to both gas and electric heating units. Despite the slower recovery times, that is, how long it takes for your shower to get hot and stay hot, and higher average costs of electric heating, some consumers may prefer it, others may not. But individual preference should play no role here, according to the green activists, because climate-friendly alternatives are more ethical.
Your government stove.
He gets into the small gas engines and...
I love the first paragraph of this article.
Oh, it's just a wonderful piece.
Yeah.
And it goes, but what I want to know is, and he just alludes to it only incidentally, and why this is happening. Why? What
prompts someone to...
To me, it's the creation of a hybrid capitalism.
Well, it says so right in the first paragraph. Read the first paragraph. You skipped over it. The interesting thing
right by the goober. Yeah, there you
about the Green New Deal.
Yes. When we've said this on the show before. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing about the Green New Deal, admitted Sinkholes Chakrabarty, the former chief of staff to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is it wasn't originally a climate change thing at all. It was, in fact, a how do you change the entire economy thing. He wasn't kidding.
Yep.
And we recall discovering that occasional Cortex had as her chief of staff this Sinkholes Chakrabarty, who did say the Green New Deal has nothing to do with the environment.
What are they going to do in 2050 when they, in fact, have succeeded? They've shut down every fossil fuel or nuclear power plant. They've forced us to use electricity from the sun and the wind. And the carbon dioxide levels remain unchanged. Right. And then half of Canada starts on fire, and then half of California starts on fire, and smoke is being released into the atmosphere. What are they going to do then?
And how do they know this will result in a better atmosphere?
They don't.
They don't know.
They don't have the crystal ball.
Meanwhile, there was a video that surfaced yesterday or the day before of tire burning in Kuwait.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that's basically doing, I'm preaching to the choir.
God, nothing smells better than a good tire fire.
He gets into the electric light bulbs, and you have to use the new kind, even though as a consumer, I prefer incandescent. They're cheaper, and they're brighter.
Well, that's because you're an evil
doer.
Evildoer.
And what else do we have? I'm trying to find the very few sentences where he gets to what he thinks is the reason for this. And I can't find it. The policies the activists support force a lifestyle on everyone else and display contempt for all who disagree.
Mm-hmm.
By itself, an electric range, a heat pump, an ugly LED bulb, or a paper straw is a minor irritation. In a mandated aggregate, they look like a society-wide assault on the dignity of personal choice. Activists, like-minded bureaucrats, and their allies in elected office are, in the name of climate change, waging war against products and conventions that make everyday life work. For the targets of their hostility, they would substitute alternatives that either perform less effectively or demand more of your time and money. And you're expected to bear this burden indefinitely, or at least until you communicate your displeasure in no uncertain terms at the ballot box. And that's how he concludes the story. Isn't it something, though? Why do you want me to have things that are inefficient, not as quick, more expensive?
Going backwards.
Why?
You're going backwards. To what date do they want, like you say? They keep going backwards. When is enough enough? Got it?
Plastic straws. That's he really covers it. It's and for all of you euphorians who think, well, the National Review is just a conservative magazine. Yes, it is. It was founded by William F. Buckley. But here's the story that starts on the same page that Noah's story ends. Sorry, Trump lost. Okay, so, I mean, I love this magazine, and I'm a subscriber.
I'm reading now down to the small engine stuff where they're talking about leaf blowers, et cetera, et cetera. All these laws and opinions that we're hearing from the people that rule us, it's so obvious that they've never, or at least they haven't in 10 years, mowed a lawn or cleaned up after you've mowed the lawn or shoveled, blow snow. They just don't deal with everyday things that we deal with. They're not us.
Kenny, I'll ask you the question Joe asked me. Do you have gas at home?
I don't. Where's this? What's the punchline?
I have it everywhere.
Okay. Yeah.
We're looking at the flow rates of kitchen sinks here to home. It's worth it to go over the small gas engine part. Small gas engines, such as those in lawnmowers and blowers, are not only bad for our environment and contributing to our climate crisis. We have no crisis. California Assemblywoman Lorena Gonzalez declared in 2021, they can cause asthma. Boy, they love asthma, don't they? They can cause asthma and other health issues for workers who use them. It's time we phased out these super polluters and help small landscaping businesses transition to cleaner alternatives. She made these comments to justify legislation she had co-sponsored that would ban the sale of gasoline-powered lawn equipment. Now signed into law, the prohibition will take effect in January of 2024. Dark blue states, including New York, New Jersey, and Illinois, are considering similar legislation, and a combustion engine-free future is already the reality in many municipalities. The dubious environmentalist argument against gas-powered equipment and tools is that they harm the climate even more than passenger vehicles do. Using a combustion-driven leaf blower produces emissions equivalent to driving from L.A. to Denver in a 2017 Toyota Camry, said the mayor of San Anselmo, California, defending her city's ban on certain landscaping equipment. That's just an environmental ass statistic.
Right. She
pulled that out of her ass. That is an improvement on a 2011 estimate by the car shopping experts at Edmunds, one of whom found that doing a half hour of yard work with this two-stroke leaf blower produces the emissions equivalent of driving a pickup truck from northern Texas to Anchorage, Alaska. It's another ass statistic. Scratch the surface of the case against noisy, smoky lawn care equipment, and you'll often find that what their opponents really don't like is just their effect on their quality of life. Mm-hmm. The machines intrude upon the lovely sounds of spring, summer, and fall, according to USA Today contributing editor Ellie Gruber.
Stop. In South Minneapolis, that's airplane, jets, sirens, gunshots, murder, the sounds of everyday life in South Minneapolis.
They kick up disease-causing mold and fecal matter at 200 miles per hour.
200?
Per the editorial writers at the Maryland Daily Record.
Imagine if your leaf blower...
Wish I had one that was 200 miles an hour.
Oh, my God, that'd be so wonderful.
It'd be like hanging on to the car wash wand. You'd be flying all over.
You wouldn't be able to control it.
No.
They menace the already marginalized migrant laborers who landscape the locals' yards with leaf blowers just inches from their lungs and ears. See, I would never hold it like this.
Yeah, right.
I would never hold it up to my face, The author, Michael Shapiro, told the California paper The Press Democrat, insisting that his neighbors use rakes. Instead, the author exposed the pretextual nature of his concern for yard workers. Suddenly, the neighborhood was once again a placid place where we could hear ourselves think, listen to birds sing, and enjoy the sound of our neighbors playing Mozart.
Come on.
Does your neighbor play Mozart?
Never.
No, it's Vivaldi. Seasons.
I can't take it. But I told you you'd be surprised at what I have that dovetails here.
Yeah, what's the punchline?
This is in today's news. Again, it's Fox because you can't count on the agenda-driven news. Well, of course, Fox has an agenda, too. It just happens to be one that covers more of what I might be interested in, as opposed to the Washington Post.
He scrolled down to the incandescent stuff. The effort to snuff out incandescent lights for good has continued despite the clear preference of consumers, particularly low-income Americans. LED light bulbs are more expensive and less available in high-poverty urban areas than in most affluent locations. So basically, they're harming the poor people.
It just occurred to me that it's not that hard to figure out what's going on. We just have to go back to an old realization of ours. Mysterians don't like people.
Right.
They don't like people. And they don't care if you're poor.
Especially low-income black people.
They don't like low-income black people.
That they profess to protect and cherish and prop up.
They're all phonies.
Which, in fact, all they do is keep them in their place.
Yes, of course. Let me cut again. I'm veering sharply.
Well, the world needs ditch diggers too, Danny.
I'm veering sharply away from what we're talking about, but it must be said because it's a good thought. The little girl who died in the St. Paul schools.
Zamaya,
7 years old, dreadful home situation. What have years and years and years of liberal policies done for that family?
Destroyed it.
Nothing.
Oh, it harmed that family. Well, it's worse than nothing.
And what you'll see is that the progressives, who are really regressives, will say of that family, well, because they're black, they're automatically victims. They've been oppressed, and on and on and on and on. But for at least 50, 60 years, liberal policies have governed big city America. What have they accomplished when this kind of behavior is on the increase? What have you gained?
Well, just in that Zamaya case on the Star Tribune article, as St. Paul Public Schools spokeswoman Erica Wacker.
You don't comment on pending cases, Rook.
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, they didn't let the police investigators talk to anybody. I mean, it's just, who are they protecting there?
Well, who do they think they are?
I don't understand.
How are they getting away with not talking to police
district.
investigators?
They didn't let them talk to staff. They gave them their records, but they didn't let them talk to staff.
Matthew, that's a nuisance, Matthew. Why should they have to deal with that?
You want to take a time out, and then I'll tell you what Biden just announced today or yesterday.
I will, but Joe, I first need to remind GLers that it is officially mosquito season. And if you're getting eaten up in your yard, then you need to call my folks at Mosquito Shield. It's owned and operated by a couple of GLers. They're great guys. It's Ray and Mike, a father and son team, that own and operate 2 franchises right here in the Twin Cities. And getting rid of mosquitoes and ticks, ticks have no ambition. That's their expertise. They're not like other pest control companies that, spray for bugs. They just focus on the mosquitoes and ticks only. And they have that proprietary blend that was invented by the founder of Mosquito Shield. It's used exclusively by the company. You can't go buy this stuff on the shelf. They're going to take great care of you, your family, and your yard. They come out every 10 to 17 days for an application, and they stand behind their work. If you need them in between applications, they will do an additional service call at absolutely no charge. So here's what you do. Find them online right now, moshield.com, moshield.com. Enter your zip code, and you're going to find them. Or just give Kelsey and Mike a call directly at 612-619-1556. That's 612-619-1556. You mentioned GL, and you are going to get $50 off your service. MoShield.com. Let them know you heard them here on the Garage Logic Podcast.
How about this? Looking forward to 2024. And how about a nice little ride in Croatia? Yeah, on a nice, luxurious 18-cabin motor yacht for 7 nights, cruising down the coast of Croatia from Split to Dubrovnik. I'm going to lead this charge here, and slots are filling up right now with Escape With Us Vacations. I'll give you their website, and I'll give you their phone number shortly, but I am leading a trip. It's next year, July 14th to the 21st, and you can get a wonderful, wonderful preview by going to escapewithusvacations.com, and the trip is listed right there. It's the Adriatic King, and again, 18 cabins. We're cruising up and down. Here's what it includes. Lunch and breakfast daily, a welcome dinner, captain's dinner, 7 nights, 8 days on the cruise, pool, jacuzzi, sauna, and sun deck, fitness room. Members of the crew, and it's also, you get your own personal concierge. Get all the details by going to escapewithusvacations.com. It is the Adriatic King. It's a wonderful ship. You can see it, and you can learn all about it, prices, etc., July of next year, 2024.
It's a real page turner, isn't it, Rook?
It's a real page turner. Call 651-788-4338, 651-788-4338, or go to escapewithusvacations.com for more info. Come and sail with the Rook, and let's have one hell of a GL time, brother.
Not a Garage Logic Town Council member? Here's what you're missing.
Pay attention to the bleeping show.
Joe, I'm looking at my computer to set up the broadcast.
Right, you're looking at Sarah's tweets.
Because it was funny.
What the hell?
Who wrote Sarah Smile?
That would be Hall and Oates.
Which one, though?
Did they write a lot of their stuff?
Yeah.
Who wrote it, though?
Probably Hall.
More of an Oates guy.
What about, do you rate adult education high up there on the Hall?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not a bad song. I like it. The song was written by Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Yeah, it was about Hall's girlfriend.
Sarah Smile?
That was her last name was Smile.
Wow, that's a weird.
I don't think it was.
It's so weird that
you're
would
lying.
be her last name, and then they made a song. around
Yeah,
it.
Sarah Smile.
What a coincidence.
123 Main Street.
Yeah.
Joe, you're kind of crabby for a Friday before a holiday. Come
I'm
on.
not crabby.
Come on.
Crabby.
I'm not crabby. Don't tell me I'm crabby.
Don't tell me I'm crabby.
Go behind the scenes of Garage Logic with unfiltered audio and video access, invites to exclusive events, an emailed newsletter from the mayor himself, and more by signing up at garagelogic.com.
All right.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life. Joe Souchere.
Moon Motorsports, well known to have the most exciting showroom in all the region. We all know it, and if you don't, you really should get there. They have 11 major brands on hand, and the service and parts departments that will help you get the most out of whatever machine you're rolling with. And when you do stop by Moon Motorsports, you're going to find a great lineup of off-road machines and a great lineup of Fox gear to go with them. Moon has the newest Fox gear in stock right now. They also have a wonderful website, moonmotorsports.com. And one of the first things you notice when you go there is a big banner ad for an upcoming event, Moon's upcoming Kids Day event, featuring the popular Wheelie Wizard stunt team, and plenty of games and styles and savings for the family. It's all happening Saturday, June 17th. They're right there in Monticello, 20 minutes from the Metro on the south side of 94, just west of 25. They are Moon Motorsports, your ATV, side-by-side, and adventure motorcycle brand leaders. And on the web, moonmotorsports.com.
Well, we turn from the National Review to today's news. As soon as I fix this, there we go. The Biden administration is expected to soon finalize regulations restricting which home gas-powered furnaces consumers are able to purchase.
Really?
Oh, wow. Which ones we're going to allow you to purchase?
According to experts, we know about the experts, the regulations proposed in June of 2022 by the Department of Energy would restrict consumer choice, drive prices higher, and likely have a low impact on greenhouse gas emissions. The agency could finalize the rules targeting residential gas furnaces, which more than 50% of American households rely on. This is a classic example of one size not fitting all. Ben Lieberman, a senior fellow at the Competitive Enterprise Institute, told Fox News Digital in an interview, every home is different, every homeowner is different, and people are best off having a wide range of choices. They can work with their contractor to make the best decision for their home and their circumstances. Stop right there. Ben Lieberman just accidentally stumbled upon it. They don't want every home to be different. They don't want every homeowner to be different. They don't want people having a wide range of choices.
Right.
And same.
The efficiency standard would effectively outlaw non-condensing furnaces, and condensing alternatives would be the only ones available. Lieberman said those are not more efficient, but they cost more. And installation costs could be a big problem for some houses that are not compatible with condensing furnaces. I must say I should have looked that up. I don't know what that means.
Condensate furnaces spew out water that you have to somehow drain off.
Are they mostly in older homes, Kenny?
They're mostly in homes. I just replaced a condensate furnace in my shop with one that's now hanging from the ceiling. It's a non-condensate, and boy, it was expensive.
Under the proposed regulations, the Department of Energy would require furnaces to achieve an annual fuel utilization efficiency of 95% by 2029, meaning manufacturers would only be allowed to sell furnaces that convert at least 95% of fuel into heat within 6 years. The current market standard for residential furnace is 80%. Because of the stringent requirements, the regulations would largely take non-condensing gas furnaces, which are generally less efficient but cheaper, off the market. But consumers who replace their non-condensing furnace with a condensing furnace face hefty installation costs.
I wonder if I got that right. Huh. Okay, I'm going to admit I don't know.
There are some really technical reasons why this is such a concerning rule. Richard Meyer, the Vice President of Energy Markets Analysis and Standards at the American Gas Association, said, it has to do with the ability for consumers to be in compliance with the new efficiency standard. They're going to have to, in many cases, install new equipment to exhaust gas out of their home. These higher efficiency units, or so-called condensing units, a lot of consumers have them in their home, but a lot of consumers don't. So this rule would require additional retrofits for a lot of consumers, and those retrofits can be extremely cost prohibitive. What do the Mysterians care? They don't like people, and they don't care that poor people can't afford this.
I thought all furnaces, gas, LP, or fuel oil, had to be exhausted outside, don't they?
Mine is. Yeah. There's a pipe up there.
Yeah, other than like small fish house heaters that you don't have to.
The American Gas Association, whose members provide natural gas to more than 74 million customers nationwide, filed complaints in opposition of the furnace rules with the DOE last year. The industry group has argued consumers would be better served if the agency allowed the free market to naturally increase product efficiency. What got America to its once great point, we're going the other way now, but what got America to its great point was consumers being better served by the private sector naturally accommodating their needs.
Okay.
Is there anything in there? Anything in there about heat pumps?
Yes, in the National Review article, I didn't read those 6 or 7 paragraphs, but he goes through the heat pump situation.
Which I believe, and I'm venturing out on thin ice here, I believe are only available to be powered electrically. But you need at least, again, guessing, 200 amp service, from what I've been told.
Mm-hmm. Natural gas remains the lowest cost and lowest emissions resource for many consumers. A lot of the policies we're seeing that are designed to restrict natural gas may end up having a counterproductive result that increase costs to consumers and could increase the emissions associated with energy use by those consumers. These people are just constantly windmilling themselves. It's a sad, sad situation. To me, this is there's nothing improved about this. This is, again, let's get rid of something that works.
I'm guessing they're vehemently against wood burning. Boilers.
Oh, God, that's not
heat
even
water up, and then
that goes without saying.
Or like you mentioned earlier, Kenny, can use a gas stove to burn tires. Would they be okay with that?
I think I could burn tires in a wood burning boiler, could I not?
There you go.
Oh, can you imagine the tar? Wow.
In December, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm touted that the administration has taken 110 actions on energy efficiency standards in 2022 alone. The Energy Secretary added that the regulations strengthened U.S. leadership in the race towards a clean energy future. You can't get much cleaner than a gas furnace, folks. I'm sorry, unless you can somehow plug into a nuclear plant. According to the current federal unified agenda, a government-wide semi-annual list that highlights regulations agencies plan to propose within the next 12 months, the Biden administration is moving forward with rules impacting dozens more appliances, including pool pumps, battery chargers, ceiling fans, and dehumidifiers.
Wow. Battery chargers? Mm-hmm. What do they do?
Under the DOE's mission statement, the unified agenda highlights advancing energy efficiency and conservation as one of 5 central pillars. Broadly, Democrats and environmentalists have argued that electrification, banning natural gas hookups, and implementing strict energy efficiency standards could help accelerate emissions reductions. This is sad stuff. To me, it strikes me as sad to see it just this is sad. This is a bleep show. This country is a non-serious bleep show.
And it still won't do anything for the people who have older homes with sketchy insulation and old windows.
And it's not going to do anything for the earth.
Right. Why don't they help people put insulation in their house or install efficient windows?
They don't like people.
That way you use less gas to heat your home.
This is just dispiriting. It's so dispiriting. These are people, for the most part, these people, these activists, environmentalists, bureaucrats, and politicians, are people who have never done anything, by which I mean they haven't made anything, they haven't invented anything, they haven't improved anything, and their idea of achievement, what we're witnessing, their idea of achievement is to undo what has been made, found, and invented, replaced with their own intuitions, which are useless.
Fantasies.
Their own fantasies, because they haven't contributed a thing.
No.
You think anybody in the legislature in Minnesota, well, there are exceptions, of course, but do you think in the DFL activist legislature, do you think there are many people who have ever accomplished anything real?
No.
Yeah, they worked for the government, city government or something.
But they're too busy fighting for us.
This is why the next election is the most important election we've ever had. Let me go back to that piece in the National Review. In 2007, Bush signed a law designed to gradually phase out inefficient incandescent light bulbs. Barack Obama accelerated this phase out. 2019, Trump administration rolled those requirements back.
Right.
But in 2022, Joe Biden reimposed the Obama-era lumens per watt standards. That's why you Republicans have to get your S together.
You really do.
And beat this guy. We have got to unify this party and knock off this, what do they call the Republicans in name only? Knock out the rhino versus Trumpsters. We need
versus
to
the mags. Yeah, get rid of this psychopath Trump, you ballish bunch of fools who honor him.
See, Such, I think you saying that is part of the problem.
Give me Chris Christie. Let's go.
Sorry.
Give me Chris Christie.
No, we need to unify. And it can't be far right and it can't be far left on the right side. We need to unify and get these jackasses out of office and get our lives back.
That's why I'm saying get rid of this psychopath Trump.
And the Trumpsters, what did you call them? The
MAGAs?
Yeah, the MAGAs. That's what they say the same thing about the rhinos.
Right.
You know, we've got to stop this inter-party fighting, unify, and beat these people.
Do you realize how heroic a Republican candidate would be just addressing these consumer goods?
That's why Trump was so loved.
Well, he doesn't know a furnace from his ass, but he had the people around him that realized this is stupid to have incandescent light bulbs.
And he did it all over with all sorts of different things.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm kind of starting to become a big fan of this Tim Scott, the South Carolina senator.
Yeah.
I've heard him speak a number of times.
Chris Christie.
Well, everyone's going to have their own.
No, I'm telling you who to go for.
Gotcha.
Somebody's got to stand up and say, go bleep yourself. You people, do you realize that if you keep voting for the Biden administration, you won't even be able to decide what kind of furnace you're going to have?
But the problem with the Democrats is even the moderates get swayed by the wackos.
Well, we learned that the hard way in Minnesota when we were kind of astonished to discover that even the rural DFLers marched lockstep with the urban fruitcakes.
They're so loyal to the Democrats. They don't care. If it's a Democrat, they're voting for them.
Only because they come to us.
It's gotten
Are
so
you in
bad.
a hurry?
The host lost track of time.
Yes.
Oh, what the hell. Only because they come to us all the way from Fernandina in the Villages, Florida, from the Traveling Lymans at worldwidewaftage.com, still putting that pink flamingo out on their lawn.
Very hopeful.
On this day in 1838, Edward Phelan, and it was spelled various ways, was discharged from Fort Snelling, and he staked out a claim in St. Paul near Ryan and Hill Streets. Lake Phelan and Phelan Creek are named for him.
Nice.
On this day in, there's a lot of them today. On this day in 1892.
Yeah. June 7th, right? Yeah.
The Republican National Convention met in Minneapolis and nominated Benjamin Harrison to the office of president. Harrison had defeated Grover Cleveland 4 years before, but would lose to him in November. 2 women from Wyoming attended the convention as alternates, the first female delegates to a national political convention.
Nice.
On this day in 1902,
June 7th.
the steamer Hadley rammed the whaleback freighter Thomas Wilson near the entry to the Duluth Harbor. The Wilson sunk quickly and 9 crew members drowned.
Wow.
Jeez.
Superior never gives up her dead.
Boy, you would think they could have been saved at the entrance to the harbor on a warm June day.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was cold. On this day in 1921, the Minnesota Cooperative Creameries Association was formed, now known as
Land O'Lakes.
Land O'Lakes. On this day in 1958,
June 7th.
Prince Nelson was born in Minneapolis.
Yeah,
He
it's his
became
birthday.
known as Prince.
Having a big shindig at the airport, I think, for him today.
What
Good.
year? What year was he born?
1958. So what would he be? 60.
He'd be 65.
65.
Yeah.
Wow.
On this day in 1987,
That'd be June 7th.
August Wilson's play Fences won 4 Tony Awards, including one for Best Play. Born in Pittsburgh, Wilson moved to St. Paul in 1978 and soon began writing his award-winning plays, which chronicled African-American experiences during the 20th century.
Okay.
Thank you, GLers.
PodMN. PodMN on your smartphone. Library of podcasts to choose from. PodMN on your smartphone. YouTube. Subscribe to Garage Logic. We have a YouTube page. You subscribe to it. It's free. You'll be entertained. Garage Logic Town Council. Found at garagelogic.com.
Why are you reading this like you're doing airport announcements at Terminal 2?
Your attention, please. The town council price is $10 per month or $100 for the entire year. Please, no parking in the white zone. You go to garagelogic.com, sign up. You'll be a member of the town council to hear what we talk about during our break time, which can be heated and also very entertaining and very mean, as it was today.
Yes, very.
That's garagelogic.com.
You're welcome.
Chop.
Thank you, Chop.